All right, everybody, we're back. We're doing a reaction to Quiet Kills. We got fantastic creator, absolutely. Go sub to him. I'm gonna drop the link to this video in the description. We're gonna quickly run over this video and see what we think and see what's going on.
That DBD Twitter is a virtual hellscape where brain cells go to die. DBD Twitter is like Ozempic for brain-eating amoebas. And you know what I noticed? DBD Twitter is full of a bunch of people who assign themselves positions of intellectual authority over a game that they don't even understand. And most of these people exclusively only play one role in a two-role game, meaning they totally lack the required perspective to take some of the positions they take about certain things. But anyways, let's not beat around the bush and just dive headfirst into the
Right off the bat, I 100% agree with everything you just said. I don't actually go on DBD Twitter, but just from what I've seen, what I've heard from just around in the community, in the space, he's 100% right. Hits the nail on the head right off the bat. You can even see it in the comment sections for videos on this channel that talk about, you know, cases like tunneling or camping or whatever have you. 9 times out of 10, you're going to find just absolute nonsensical commentary that just doesn't make any sense and completely is just, what's the word for it, just completely unable to hear another side or to be able to even take into account that this game is actually strategic and tunneling is not some kind of exploit that you know, and camping is not some kind of exploit. Like, you know, and that survivors do also have strategies. Like, let's not pretend, you know what I mean? Let's not beat around the bush.
The cesspool that is DBD Twitter. So first post here, we've got a screenshot from an in-game chat, and one of the survivors says, slugging in the big 2025, toxic as hell. And then you look at their builds. They brought boil over, tenacity, flip-flop, power struggle, saboteur, background player, breakdown, and we're gonna live
sounds
forever,
about right.
with 2 petrified oaks, a sabo kit, and a really good toolbox with a brand new part. So let me get this straight. This person here is complaining that they didn't get picked up, even though their team brought builds that punish the killer for picking them up. I mean, like, when you bring builds like these, you're practically unhookable. What do you want the killer to do? I mean,
so just for anybody who's unaware, boil over already makes it hard to actually reach hooks because the sway is like much stronger, so it's harder to actually reach hooks. In combination with the fact that they have tenacity and they also have flip-flop, so that means that you can crawl while recovering. And then 50%, once they reach that 50% threshold, that's 50% wiggle with flip-flop. And then it also activates the perk right on the right there, power struggle. Then you also have the offering to make those hooks farther away. So not only do you have a perk that's giving you wiggle time, say you fall off of a height, that's 33% more wiggle progress. You have a perk that already gives you wiggle progress for recovering, tenacity to make you travel while recovering, to go to even further area to even have more wiggle time, and then you have another perk added on top to make it so that if they for some reason go through the pallet, they're gonna get pallet saved on their own. So off the bat, who is going to hook this person? You pick them up and basically just let them go instantly. How is that's not fun to go against. It's not interesting to go against. Oh, and then let's look at the Quentin. It says we have saboteur here, right? So that means that they can destroy the hook. You have background players, so that means that they pick up, they can already fly over with that speed boost to the nearest hook, because saboteur shows the aura of the nearest hooks to that person being carried, so they can use that speed boost and fly over and dismantle it. Say that Quentin gets hooked, you have breakdown, so that means that the hook is gone for over 90 seconds. And then we're gonna live forever, so if they do get slugged and they get picked up, that means that everybody has endurance now. And then you have the Alex toolbox with sabotaging add-ons, with another offering here for increasing the distance between hooks. Now, mind you, these are the same people, right? Right here, as you can say, slugging in the big 2025, toxic as hell. But then these are the builds that they're bringing. I don't even know the term for this. Like how is this real? Like, this is, you're denying reality at this point. Like, this is beyond comprehension. I don't think, like, it's like, I don't understand it.
Like, what is countering your builds toxic now? I don't understand. Like, this is so stupid, and I bet you most people watching this, at least that play killer quite a bit, have experienced something exactly like this. I have videos where I have had people.
I have experienced that myself as a killer main. They usually will go to Area Crows because of the main building having high ground, or they'll go to other maps that do have high ground. Can't really remember at the top of my head, but I do know that there are a few that you can go to that have high ground. They'll usually have like a 4-man. They might throw in like a boon for picking themselves up as well. Like they make it extremely difficult to want to hook in the first place. Oh, a good example: Dead Dog Saloon, Area Crows, to name like 2.
People do the exact same thing. I mean, this is actually surprisingly common. And yeah, no, this is just stupid. This is like an inconceivable level of entitlement and delusion. I mean, this is just delusion. Ridiculous, but it gets even worse. So in the replies to this post, this person here says, slugging is annoying, but people with anti-hooking builds really have no right to complain. They essentially got what they asked for. They didn't want to get hooked and they weren't, which is exactly true. These builds scream, I don't want to get hooked, so you weren't. This is a classic case of be careful what you wish for, because you might just get it. And the only reason they're upset is because they got what they wanted, but they just didn't get the result they wanted from it. This person here, though, says, definitely not what they asked for. They just wanted a chance to get off the killer's shoulder before they got hooked. Probably someone who gets tunneled a lot. So this just doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
I gotta drop in and I gotta respond to this myself. It says, so by you running an anti-hook build, you get slugged. So that's literally the direct counter to that. Like, what? The direct counter. You can't get hooked, then you don't. Like, what? They want to say def not what they asked for. They just wanted a chance to get off the killer's shoulder before they got hooked. Probably someone who gets tunneled a lot. No, that doesn't make sense. Because if you're getting tunneled a lot, that means you would run anti-tunneling perks or perks that deter the tunnel in the first place. Off the record, decisive strikes, like dead hard, you know, you name it, right? We have a myriad of perks that prevent, well, not prevent, but they deter that sort of reaction, right? That literally makes no sense. So by saying that they just wanted a chance to get off the killer's shoulder, those two things are not connected. Like, those two things are not connected. These people could be the first, like, they could be still using the build even if they haven't been tunneled at all. That literally makes no sense. Like, that makes no sense.
So if we're making the assumption, because that's what this is just an assumption saying probably someone who gets tunneled a lot, then why wouldn't they just bring an anti-tunnel build? I mean, that doesn't make a lick of sense. I mean, there are perks for that. There are builds for that. You could bring a decisive strike dead hard, off the record decisive strike. There are so many different perk combinations or just perks alone that you could bring instead of dedicating your whole entire build to this. I mean, you are essentially begging to be slugged, so don't cry when you get slugged, or at least like slip an unbreakable somewhere in there, or a boon so you can pick yourselves up. I mean, like, this is just a stupid way to play. It's a very bold way to play, and if it doesn't go the way you want, then it's going to be catastrophic, which clearly it was. So you just don't really have the right to complain. But this doesn't make any sense whatsoever, saying that they likely get tunneled a lot, so that's why they're doing this. This isn't the logical conclusion you would come to upon being tunneled a lot. This isn't what you'd ask for, because then now you're just asking to get slugged a lot. So yeah, nah, they just wanted a chance to get off the killer's shoulder. Like something like flip-flop, power struggle, tenacity, boil over. You're not even giving the killer a chance to put you on their shoulder. What do you mean by this? You do not understand how these builds work. Like,
I kind of had to agree with that too. Like I was describing earlier, the main focus of the build is quite literally building up wiggle meter before even being picked up in the first place. So, for example, you know, with flip-flop and tenacity, you're able to recover while on the ground, and you can move around while recovering. So that means that you can position yourself as you get downed, and then, you know, position yourself into an area that's even harder to access and harder to leave, right? Meaning that, say, if you're on Dead Dog Saloon and you're in one of the top floor in the main building, and that area can be very difficult because now you can't pick them up because 50% of their wiggle progress is already added because, say, they fully recovered with you know, with flip-flop, you only need 50%, so 50% of the wiggle meter is already filled up. Then say they fall from a height while carrying them, the killer, then they're gonna have another 33 added, so that's over, you know, 70 to 80%. Say they still have to walk a few steps, they're just gonna wiggle free completely without even being able to be hooked in the first place if everything goes right. Now, mind you, say they do pick up instantly and they don't have to deal with the boil over for any reason. There's somebody else here that has a perk to disable the hook in the first place. So even if you do decide to go, okay, I'm not going to leave them on the ground, I'm going to pick them up and just quickly get over to the hook, there's somebody else that's going in there and destroying it anyway. So then you leave them on the ground again. So that doesn't, so by saying that they just wanted a chance to get off the shoulder before they got hooked, just bring a flashlight if you're, you know, if that's the case, you know what I mean? But you're dedicating a build to not being hooked in the first place. Literally. Like, 2 builds at that. And an item.
That's all this is, but of course that didn't stop them from sharing their incredibly foolish take. So this person says, I don't want to unleash the whole us versus them argument, but survivors that do this and don't understand why you slug them are so low IQ, which is totally true. This person replies with, low IQ survivor mains don't understand that the game revolves around killer-survivor interaction. As a killer, your job is to make the game fun. If survivors want to bring anti-fun, then you gotta deploy an anti-fun strategy too, or else there's no risk and it becomes boring. So this is definitely mostly true, I'd say, but this here is what I disagree with. As a killer, your job is to make the game fun.
I disagree with that as well. It's not the killer's job to make the game fun for anybody else but themselves, okay? And neither is it the survivor's job to make the game fun for the killers either. As I've mentioned in other videos before, when you load up a side, or you load up the game, or you load up the match, the only fun that you're really worried about is probably your own, or with your teammates, you're probably worried about their fun to some extent. If you're rolling in with the Swift, surviving with friends. So, with that being said, it's not the killer's job. It's not anyone's job. It's your own job to have your own fun. You find the fun and how you decide to find the fun. Okay? And it's up to your own discretion as to how you go about doing that. Everything else I do agree with. Low IQ survivor mains don't understand the game revolves around killer-survivor interaction. That is kind of true. If survivors want to bring anti-fun, then you gotta deploy an anti-fun strategy too. It has no risk. And becomes boring. I will say that if survivors want to bring anti-fun, you have to deploy an anti-fun strategy too. That is true. However, I wouldn't say that there really isn't I wouldn't say that there has anything to do with risk or becomes boring. I would say that you just sort of are countering, like I've said before many times, it's about competitive gaming as a whole. You can go to any other video game that has a team versus team thing. And if a team is employing a strategy, the other side is going to counter that strategy. They're going to try to do that. A good example I can point at is something like a strategic shooter like Rainbow Six Siege. If the opposite team is bringing characters with shields, and they want to run in there and try to block shots with shields and try to distract with shields, somebody's going to bring a C4. So that they can launch it behind the guys with shields and counter that strategy, right? They might bring a character like if you played Siege, they play Pulse, right? So they could see through the walls and they could try to shoot through the wall to get that person who is running a shield, for example. Same thing with the fighting game. Say somebody's constantly jumping in the air to try to go for an overhead. You use a move to anti-air them, and then you start to continue your combo to lower the health bar. That's how it works. Like, I don't understand why DBD is the one game that, for some reason, strategies can't be countered in any way, shape, or form, or else that's toxic. Like, that makes no sense. When any other video game that you can point out that has any player versus player at all revolves around countering strategies or countering plays. That's literally how it works.
I'm sorry, but like, where exactly does it say that anywhere? I don't think that's the case at all, right? Like, as a killer, your job is to kill. That's why it's called killer. Let's look at DBD Wiki and look at the overview of killer. The killers have been tasked by the entity to hunt down and sacrifice every survivor before they can escape. Right. So like, I'm not seeing anywhere in this where it says, oh, and also there's a side objective in which the killer must ensure that all the survivors are having fun throughout this process.
I agree.
Throughout the process of brutally murdering them, you must make sure that they are having fun throughout. Like, no, it doesn't say that. Let's look at like the Wikipedia page for Dead by Daylight and like look through gameplay. Nowhere in this at all does it say that killers are supposed to make sure survivors are having fun throughout the process of you killing them. This is just like an impossible to uphold standard for killers, right? Like, everyone thinks that different things are fun. How could I possibly ensure such a thing? Like the fun is subjective, right? I mean, no, as a killer, my job is to kill, and I'm not.
I had to agree with that too. Everybody finds fun in different things. Some people may enjoy meme builds on killer. Maybe I don't enjoy that, right? Maybe people enjoy playing Survivor. I don't really enjoy playing Survivor. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what other people could find fun is different than me. So how are you tasking somebody on one side to make sure you have the like they make sure you have fun when they don't even know what you find fun in the first place? So that like, and then now you're like, you're not only tasking that person to worry about the other side's fun, but then on top of that, what if the other side's fun isn't fun for the person that's playing their own side? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like,
I'm not terribly concerned. Like, you can call me a bad person all you want, but I'm just not terribly concerned if my opposition is having fun throughout the process of me beating them or not. I mean, like,
I agree.
It's just not realistic. I think this is a bit of a silly take right here, but the rest of this I think is true for the most part. I don't think this is a bad take, and I think this person is actually agreeing with this person here. All right, so this whole situation here is absolutely hilarious to me, and it also comes with gameplay. So I'm gonna get into that before I get into the messages, but first I need to provide some context as to what you're about to see. All right, so this person is going down at the top of the main building on Toba Landing on purpose. Why? Because they likely have 3 perks that when synergized properly basically make them unhookable, and these 3 perks are Boil Over, Unbreakable, and Flip Flop. So Boil Over is important here because if you drop down from a high structure while holding somebody and they have Unbreakable, they actually gain additional wiggle progress beyond just the fact that they actually have a stronger wiggle, so it's just harder to transport them in general. And then they'll have Unbreakable, which beyond just enabling survivors to be able to pick themselves up, they actually recover quicker. And how does this interact with Flip Flop? Well, recovering in the dying state also charges the wiggle meter at 50% of the recovery rate and up to a maximum of 50% wiggle progression. So basically, this makes you unhookable. Okay, so this is why they're repeatedly going down up here.
Just to really make sure that we can, you know, because I agree with Quiet Kills here. Just to really add on to like the math here, just to really try to reiterate the point. It's 50% wiggle progression. Fall from a height, that's 33% added on top of the 50%. So by the time you can even find a hook, they're most likely wiggled out. Like they're making it out of there, especially with Boil Over. 50% from the start when you pick them up, then another 33%, or if not, you're still struggling to even get to that location in the first place, giving them extra time. They're unhooked. You can't hook them.
So let's see how this plays out. So they down that person, they have to slug because they're forced to. They get a notification right here, and they get hit with head on. Interesting. All right, and let's see what happens here. So they're actually just gonna go ahead and keep chasing this person, and this person kind of just like gives up and puts their item down. I don't know why they do that, but as you can see, they're gonna come back here, and you will see exactly how these perks synergize. So they obviously went to the furthermost point on this top structure, and they're gonna go for the pick. You see the Boil Over right there, and they will basically instantly wiggle out. Boom, that fast. So yeah, that's how those perks work. So the only strategy you can reasonably employ from that point on is to slug that person or the whole team if they're all synergizing builds together. So then they get these messages here: slugging to win, vomit emojis. They say GG's with your Flip Flop and Boil Over. Hopefully you get to the MMR where it works. Burn. And then somebody here so bad, I can't wait for them to ban pussies like you. So yeah, no, countering builds should be a bannable offense. Yeah, no, totally. And this person responds with, so you bring Flip Flop, Tenacity, Boil Over, and Power Struggle, then complain about me countering that. So both of these people brought builds that are very similar, and basically they promote slugging, right? Because that is how you counter the builds they brought. And then they're once again, upset that they're being countered. Like, just be careful what you ask for, bro. You might just get it. And
I've been saying that since earlier. In any other video game, countering a strategy, a play, that is just the normal way things go. I just don't see how Dead by Daylight is any different. It literally makes no sense. And I find it strange that everybody acts like it's impossible to counter certain strategies or certain plays at all. When, mind you, which, like, you could look at any game, team versus team, strategy, whatever have you, sports games, I mean, literally anything. There's always going to be a plan, a strategy, a counter to what their opponent is doing, and that is sort of what drives the competitive, nature. And it's in its very creation an asymmetrical game where player versus player, where people are equipping perks and trying to complete their objectives. I don't see how there's such a disconnect. Like it's it's literally what it's all about. And apparently because you're countering it, they're all mad. I'm like, okay, well, just like the guy said, hopefully you get to the MMR where it works, because the only time you're ever really gonna see that is unless they're brand new to the game, I guess. So I guess you just want to only go against people that have just begun playing the game, and then what about their fun? They just started playing the game. So I don't get it.
And yeah, it's just another case of that. That's all this really is. And once again, it's just delusion and entitlement. I don't really know what else to say. So yeah, and this person says, one of them kept going down at the top of Toba Main, so I bled him out, and I played the game. Oh, well, I got teabagged and head on by the rest, but I'm the toxic one, LMFAO. Yeah, so this is just like premium gaslighting. That's all this really is. And once again, like I said, this is so common within the community. This happens so often. All right, so you guys know me and my definitions. I love to whip out the dictionary on people, but I have to go over the term crybully because I feel it encapsulates the DBD community so very well. So let's go over this. A person who falsely claims to be a victim or feigns emotional pain in order to manipulate, coerce, or threaten others.
Okay, so for the few of you, my mods, if you're watching this, you may have seen this before. Ty Wilkins, sound off in the comment section. Tell me if you heard this before. Okay, person who falsely claims to be a victim or who feigns emotional pain in order to manipulate, coerce, or threaten others. Where have we seen that before? And for some reason, this is a common practice in the DBD community. Unfortunately, and mind you, this is which I don't know, I'm pretty sure Quiet Kills is going to mention this anyway, but I'm still going to bring it up. We see this all the time, at least as a killer player going against survivors. I see this a lot. It probably is on survivor side too, going against certain killers, but for the most part, I've seen it a lot on the survivor side, where it's, they will complain and obviously, cry about all these different things, but then say they do win the game, then they're sore winners about it. They're going to teabag, be toxic to you in the end game chat. These are the same people that will never say good game or GG in the chat when they lose, but when they win, they're the first ones saying GG, even though they played in the most toxic and unfun way possible. So it is what it is.
If you don't fight back, the cry bully bullies you. If you do fight back, the cry bully cries. Tell me that this is not a prime example of cry bullying. That is exactly what this is, and we see this so freaking often. It is so funny to me. It is the textbook definition of being a cry bully. I really don't understand what these people in the DBD community don't get about being countered, right? Like, this is a very simple concept. If you bring or do a certain thing, I may have to bring or do a certain thing as a response in order to counter the thing you're doing or the thing you're bringing. Like, this is not rocket science. Like, I don't get why this is so hard for people to grasp. Like, if you're wielding a torch and you're trying to set me on fire, don't complain when I throw a bucket of water on you. I mean, it's really just that simple. This person here posted a meme with a caption that reads, "Playing killer be like," and it's just a few things that killers often have to deal with. You know, map offerings, strong add-ons like skeptics and syringes, and strong perks like Dead Hard DS off the record. You know, it's a pretty harmless meme. It's pretty funny. And this person here responds with, "I try really hard to be sensible about my balance takes on DBD, but this is true. This is what Survivor mains don't see/deal with match after match, and this is why tunneling, slugging, camping are more prevalent than ever. I'm not saying tunneling should always be the go-to strat, but when a match already begins in favor of the opposing side, i.e. being sent to a heavily Survivor-sided map, then things like tunneling may be more necessary."
Thank you. Thank you. We got some people with some freaking sense. Like, damn. Which anybody who's on the Discord may have seen me post this this same meme actually. Which, I mean, me playing killer, all I've ever seen was Ormond, the Macmillan and Erie Crow's map offerings. I keep seeing Septics and Syringes all the time, and I see Dead Hard, Decisive, and Off the Record in every single build. And you know, hey, and I do stream, so if you want to see, I guess to verify it's there. But yeah, finally some sense.
I think this is a very solid take. I think this is a good take, and I can tell that this person is likely very experienced in the game. They know what they're talking about because the take shows as much, right? Well, then we scroll down and we find a take that's accumulated quite a bit of likes, and I just want to go over this. All right, y'all better plug y'all's noses because we are diving into an absolute shit take. So this person here says survivors have to deal with killer-sided maps, S-tier killers, busted add-ons, quad slowdown, slugging, tunneling, all of the hug techs from many killers in Huntress. I'm sorry, are you actually bitching about hug techs in Huntress? Alright, like there's no shot this is not.
This overall makes no sense, okay? Killer-sided maps. I need to know which ones those are. I really do. Busted add-ons. So, are we not talking about the med kits that survivors have, like Septics and Syringes? I don't know. Quad slowdown. Quad slowdown is completely warranted and fair when which, mind you, like, just on an average match of DBD, like, you're going to lose like 2 or 3 gens just from walking across the map. Like, it's terrible, especially against M1s. For M1s, I should say. Maybe not as much for like maybe the stronger killers, but I mean, let's be fair here. Like, are we really trying to sit here and like deny that quad slowdown isn't like sort of like a requirement nowadays? Because some of us actually want to play in a match. Like, we actually want to, you know, play in a match that's not longer than 2 minutes. But anyway, all the hug techs from many killers. What? There's only one character that has a hug tech. Like, what do you mean all of the hug techs from many killers? Where? There is no hug tech beyond maybe what, Wesker? Like, there's no other hug techs that exist. Maybe Chucky, you could say, but even then, it's inconsistent. You can't land that, you know, normally, unless you know exactly how to play the tile correctly. To say we have it easy because of Septic and Dead Hard is very ignorant. No, that's not true. It's on combination with everything together. You have Off the Record and Decisive and Dead Hard all in the same build, on top of the fact you can carry a med kit that gives you a 2 free health states, depending on which one you run, and then you can bring a map offering on top. Oh look, and then at the bottom it says, oh, we have to deal with killer-sided maps. Literally just 1 map. Oh, we have to deal with S-tier killers. Literally 2. Like, the S-tiers currently are Nurse, Blight. Like, there's nobody else that is in S-tier. And then for killer-sided map, what map is killer-sided, bro? Like, maybe, like, I can't think of any map that I could say is actively killer-sided. Maybe I could name one, but that's just because I like the map, but I don't even know.
Not a troll, right? And they say, like, to say we have it easy because of Skeptic Agent and Dead Hard is very ignorant. All right, so that's just like not what the OP said at all. Like this person actually just never said that. This is such a non-argument. You're like, this is a straw man. Like,
I totally forgot to even respond to that part. Forgot about that. They're not even responding to what the person freaking said. he literally from the start goes, I tried really hard to be sensible about my balance ticks on DBD, but this is true. This is what survivor mains don't see and deal with match after match, and this is why tunneling, slugging, camping is more prevalent than ever. I'm not saying tunneling should be the go-to, yada yada. And then they actively, literally prove the person's point by saying, survivors have to deal with blah, 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, but they literally just addressed it. They literally just used not only the image, but then also said, this is what people don't see, and then they prove their point right after that. You can't make it up, man. You can't make this stuff up. It's crazy. You like literally. and it goes to show, like, look, this is why survivor mains don't see or deal with match after match. Which is why when you say all the hug techs from many killers, there's only what, one killer that has a hug tech, maybe two if you want to be generous. Come on now. This is ridiculous.
You're just trying to, what you're doing is you're trying to reframe what this person here said, so you can like make this an easier argument to attack, when actually none of that was ever said or implied. This person never denied that survivors have to deal with any of this stuff, nor did they say that survivors have it easy. They never implied that whatsoever. So no, you're basically, this is just a non-argument. You're not saying anything actually. And then this person here says, oh, we have to deal with killer-sided maps, literally just one map. Oh, we have to deal with S-tier killers, literally two. I would argue that there are more than two S-tier killers. I would say there's like three, and I would say there are more than just one killer-sided map, so I don't really agree with this take here. And this person responds with, every single map has above 50% kill rate, by the way. And yeah, two S-tier killers that are popular as fuck, so yeah, we're just gonna ignore the rest of what I said. So this right here, this is where it gets me. I'm going to really delve into this point and just completely deconstruct it and expose it for how stupid it actually is, but let's continue. So this person responds with, maps kill rates being above 50% says more about most survivors not pulling their weight than anything else, to be honest. It's really hard to read DBD data when most of it just means jack shit. Sure, one side won, but did the other side actually play well? So this is fairly true. I do feel it is a bit of a stretch to say it says more about most survivors not pulling their weight than anything else. I think there are tons of factors. I think that is just one singular factor of many. So I
agree with this as well. I do agree with this as well. Now, on average, I wouldn't say most. The vast majority of players in general probably are not as like skilled at DBD on both sides. Like, that's just in general, that's fine. That's the average. But I wouldn't say that it's just the survivors just not pulling their weight, because sometimes you can even have survivors pulling their weight, but it could be a map that is not favorable for that side, or it could be you know, maybe an imbalance in skill level. Maybe one survivor's like is better than the others or something like that. Or, you know, it could be the killer choice. Maybe it was a strong killer, or maybe it was a weak killer on a strong map for the survivors. So, but maybe they're not that good. So like there's so many different variations that you could come up with that kind of make it fall a little bit flat. Like, I just think kill rates being above 50%, I think it's just the average of how that goes, you know what I mean? But it also doesn't really state like what the, you know, the amount of kills they get are either. So it's hard to say.
I didn't really agree with that. I mean, it's partially true. And then they respond with just saying, your argument makes zero sense, dude. So they're just like making a claim and they're not substantiating it in any way, shape, or form. They're just like saying, no, you're wrong. You know, your argument makes no sense. I'm not actually going to explain or elaborate on how it makes no sense. I'm just going to say it. Sure, yeah, no, for sure. Anyways, so this person replies with, I really mean no ill intent, but you need to understand what I said to be able to talk about balance. Kill rates are not equal to win rates, and data doesn't mean much if it's just pure numbers without context. It doesn't show survivors' performance or coordination. Yes, precisely. Yep. He hit the nail right on the head with that one, and it doesn't show many things. Beyond just that, it doesn't show a lot of things. There are a lot of factors that are not being accounted for, but yes, this is a good take. And then as we scroll down, we can see that this person really likes to note the fact that every single map in this game has above a 50% kill rate. So let's delve into this. So assuming the 50% kill rate on every map is actually a true statement, it severely lacks statistical context, and it's an almost pointless number to even cite in any sort of discussion like this without the proper context to follow. You can't just take numbers like that at face value and assert that it proves your point, because there's no way to actually know if it does or not. I mean, for just one example, the surface level statistic lacks the context of which killers consistently underperform and overperform both generally and then on a specific map basis. So for example, Trapper will typically underperform compared to a killer like the Blight in a general sense, but Trapper as a singular variable will also generally overperform on a map like Midwich compared to a map like Erie due to the way his power interacts with each map. Certain killers, regardless of their strength, work better on certain maps than others, but this is all context we aren't seeing when just looking at the bare percentage though. So if
I 100% agree. When you're saying every single map has above 50% kill rate, that is basically vague. It doesn't give you a lot of information, and it doesn't take into account that there's obviously different killers that can perform differently on different maps. Some maps, like it's like if you put Hillbilly on Larry's, he may struggle to get kills, but if you put like maybe an M1 with stealth, he might perform better, right? Say you go to Erie and you're playing Hillbilly, you might perform better because it's a little more open, compared to an M1, maybe like Ghostface, who's extremely weak and cannot get any downs. In chase, I should say. It's ambush focused, so he's very weak. But say you put, maybe put that character on say an indoor map, he might perform better because he doesn't, his power is centralized around that. So there's so many different variables that you have to take into account when bringing up something like this to say, oh, it just every single map it has a 50% kill rate. Already just doesn't take into account all those variables in the first place. So it just sounds like it's a value that's just brought out of nowhere because it doesn't have anything to follow up with it or give it any evidence to actually, create an argument.
If you were to just look at the kill rates for Trapper on a map like Midwich, you may come to the false conclusion that Trapper is an insanely strong killer in a general sense. But if you were to look at his kill rates on a map like Erie, you may come to the conclusion that he's insanely weak and that his power is totally ineffective in a general sense. But realistically, it all depends on the context of the particular match, and this is why context matters. This surface level 50% statistic also lacks the context of things like which killers have higher quit rates despite the maps chosen, survivor quit rates in general, nor does it account for MMR, which also plays a massive role on the general efficiency of teams and the way the average survivors will play each loop and get the most value out of them, and so on. These are just some of the factors, but many factors are not being accounted for here. And just to further show how when you look at numbers like these without analyzing the context, you'll come to some pretty ridiculous and unrealistic conclusions, I'll give you the best example within DBD. According to Behavior's own data they posted, across all MMRs, Nurse, the strongest killer in the game, has the lowest kill rate. So would it be realistic to say that Nurse is the weakest killer in the game? Well, of course not, because this number obviously lacks context. And as you can see, Freddy's at the high end of the kill rates according to the data, but it would be absolutely absurd to assert that Freddy is stronger than Nurse, just because the contextless statistics say so. Also, the killers in DBD vary in strength too drastically as well. If Trapper has a 20% win rate on a specific map, and the Blight has an 80% win rate on that same map, the average win rate for that map would be 50%. Does that mean that map is balanced? No. Though the surface level percentage may imply so, obviously the full picture isn't being painted. So if you can't account for the full scope of context for percentages like these, then you really shouldn't be using them in the first place. Anyways, the OP says, where did I say you guys have it easy? Also, you guys, I am literally a 10,000 hour survivor main, and I know how miserable it is. This is just a discussion post to show the other side and explain why tunneling is so prevalent right now. I understand things are far from balanced. Exactly. And this is the perfect way to explain themselves. And yeah, I just thought that point that they keep trying to drill into everybody's heads is just a
and top it off to what the original person had said was the person responding only just gave them literally gave them the exact point that they were making on a silver platter. They literally said, hey, look, like there's survivor mains that have no idea how the other side experiences and just constantly takes basically, in other words, takes the victim mentality and doesn't actually think outside the box and goes, why is this happening? And then they proceed to literally do that, which is insane. So, top that off, you know what I'm saying? Plus, not only that, this person's adding points that were never said in the first place. So, once again, like the point I was making, they're just, putting out a point that is not there, proving the point that the original person had said, and on top of that, playing victim in a sense. without any, you know, backup to actually strengthen their point in the first place. That being said, thank you guys for watching. If you made it this far, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to all the YouTube things for me. Support the channel with the links in the description. Follow on Twitch so you can actually watch me play some Kill Alive. And join the Discord so you can join the community, get notified if YouTube notifications don't work and things like that. Support the channel with the links in the description. And maybe check out the other videos.